Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this session on how to make the most of your digital platform. Before we start, we'll introduce ourselves. My name's Dave Holmes, and I work for Macmillan Education as an educational consultant, specialising in primary and pre-primary. And Susanna.
Hi there, my name is Susana Martin, and I am Digital Portfolio Manager at Macmillan Education, and I am responsible for our digital platforms. So we'd like to welcome you again to this series of online webinars with a specific focus on our digital platform for teachers using primary courses. Right, so let's quickly review what are we going to see in this session, Dave?
Okay, well, first of all, we're going to review how to access, that's the most basic thing, how to access the Macmillan Education Teacher App and set up your classes, okay? Then we're going to demonstrate some of the key features of the app with special emphasis on the new features. Okay, we're going to look at some easy ways in which teachers can use the Macmillan Education Teacher App to enhance classroom practice. Okay, and we're going to then turn our attention to NAVIO, okay, and how pupils can use and benefit from NAVIO at school and at home in order to increase pupil participation and effective language learning and better language acquisition. Okay, and then finally, we're going to look at how to use our digital content with third-party platforms such as Google Classroom. Okay, so that's what we're going to hope to cover in the next hour. But first of all, we'd like to hear about your experiences, okay, particularly with the digital app. Okay, I believe you're all users of Macmillan primary courses, and some of you might already be familiar with the app. Okay, but we'd just like to find out, see what your experience is. Okay, and so this. We've got a very, very quick question, okay, which is a simple, how many of you are already users of the Macmillan Educational and Education Teacher App, okay? So just click if you're a user.
Yeah, they are voting right now.
So 48. We're getting up to the 50% mark. We've already passed it. This is my first year using Macmillan Education Teacher App, so you may not have had a chance to go in and have a look yet. But 47% of you, so it's roughly half and half now, just under half are already using the app, which is great. So you already know a little bit about it. So hopefully, you know, this session will help to fill in the gaps of maybe the things that you're less familiar with, and to show you some of the key features that you may not yet know about. Okay, so at least we can see we've got quite a range of experience there. Some users, some new, some have already been using it. Yeah. Okay.
And I'd like to know also, for those that have answered yes, and they are already using Macmillan Education Teacher App, how often do they use the app in their lessons? So if you can vote. It's okay to vote never, if that's the case.
No. We don't mind. We don't mind. We'll be using it a lot by the time you've had a look at some of the features we're going to tell you about.
Yeah, but as
there's a lot of people using it every week. Look,
yeah,
80%.
Exactly. Yeah, 80% are using it every week.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's been a good experience so far.
Okay.
I think that's the end of it. Yeah. So we've got quite a range of experience there, but as we've said, and so, you know, our levels of digital skills probably depend on our teaching context, but it's great to see that so many of you have used it and used it quite regularly. No, Susanna?
Yes, it was good to see we have like a mix. So even that you are, or most of you, or the half of you are already familiar with the platform, For those that are starting this year, I would like to give a very quick overview on the platform. So Macmillan Education Teacher App is the digital solution that we develop for all our ELT courses. And it has different features depending on which course you are teaching. So for example, primary, secondary, and bachillerato, or adults. And as we have said, today we are focusing on the platform for primary users. And I think, given the results, I think the best will be to start reviewing how to register and how to access the platform, depending on if you are already a user or if this is your first time with our platform, right? So I think you all can see my screen. Dave, if you can confirm. Can you see the Me portal, macmillaneducationeverywhere.com? Can you, Dave? Can you see?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, so this is macmillaneducationeverywhere.com. We usually refer to as Me portal as well. This is a website that both new and existing users can use to access our digital content. So let's quickly see how to register and how to access the content. I'm gonna start with the new users, because those of you starting with us this year, you will first need to register in this website to create your Macmillan account. So very quickly, I'm going to show you how. We click on register and we choose the option to register a new account. It's a two-step thing. So in this first step, we need to choose our profile or role. In this case would be a non-student, and select our country of residence. Click on next. And the second step will be to complete your details, your first name, last name, your email, and choose a username and password. And click here on submit to finish the process. So it's quite simple and just a two-step thing. Okay, that is for new users. Now, what about the existing users, right? Okay, so for those of you that already have a Macmillan account, going back to macmillaneducationeverywhere.com, because you can log in here with your current username and password. So you don't need to create a new account, right? So you just access here, log in, and you can log in using your username and password. I'm going to log in now. And of course, if you don't remember your access details, which is very likely to happen after the summer, you can recover them with these links here, forgot my username or forgot my password. Okay, so we click here on login. And what you will see will be your library or your bookshelf. In my case, I already have content in my library. If you are Macmillan users and you were using our content last year, you might already have access to your course. Or if you have received or you have an access code in your teacher's guide, you just need to redeem it here, clicking on activate code. So it's as simple as to click here and you have to type in or copy and paste the access code that you have to activate it. And once we do that, we can see the content in our library, right? Okay. Now Dave is going to explain us how to access the digital content for KidsCan, which is the course that we're going to use in this session. But this will apply to any primary course you teach with Macmillan Education Teacher App, such for example as New High 5 Enhanced or New Tiger Enhanced. So I'm accessing KidsCan and over to you, Dave.
Okay, so once we've clicked on our course book, in this case, KidsCan, okay, we'll see different tabs across the top, okay? We can only see two because we're just going to see one level, but you would have all of the levels that you're going to teach from, okay? The first tab on the left says Macmillan Education Apps, okay? And from there, we can access the Macmillan Education Teacher App, which is where you can find your interactive versions of the digital pupils book, the digital workbook to project on your interactive whiteboard if you're in class, or to share during your online lessons if you're teaching at home. Okay, then next to it we have the level tab. Okay, and if we open that, Okay, we can see all of the different resources, extra resources linked to that particular level. Okay, so as a teacher, you'll have access. The first one is the Teacher Resource Centre. Okay, that's where you'll find tests, worksheets, and other photocopiable materials. You'll also find the audio and the video, and as you can see, it's organised by unit, and also the review sections are there as well. So you've got all kinds of resources there. Okay, let's go back and see what else we can find. Okay, let's go back into level 3 there, and we've got a little bit further down for the teacher. We've got the test generator. Okay, if you're not familiar with the test generators that we do, it's an interactive tool to be able to create your own tests. You've got ready to go tests there, which are tests that are already designed that you can just take and use, or you can create a new test and you can use some of the questions that are in the ready to go test. So you can kind of create new questions, use the ones that are there to create your own test. Okay. And then importantly, you can save them. You can save the tests and access them at any time. Okay. And then for pupils, you've got access to the Pupils app, which is on NAVIO, which is a specific resource for pupils. Okay, if you don't know NAVIO, it's a gamified component in which pupils navigate through a 3D world with their avatar, okay, doing interactive activities and getting points that they can then use to customize their avatar. Okay, and we'll speak a little bit more about that later on. Okay, but the NAVIO app only gives you access to the pupils material. You don't need it to teach. Okay, it's available if you want to use it in class, or if you want to set your pupils activities for homework, and which I don't think they see as homework with NAVIO. No, it's just like a computer game that they're learning from.
Exactly, and that's the same for the Pupils Resource Center. It's a pupils material, but you have access to it just in case if you want to, I don't know, ask your students or your pupils to open a video so that you can see what they have and point them in the right direction. But going back to your teaching materials, I'm going back to the first tab that they've shown us, the Macmillan Education apps, to access the content, the digital platform. Okay, so if we click on view, we have different options here. View in browser, this is to access online via the web browser. And well, of course, you need an internet connection to use this mode. You have the download the app option here to be able to access your digital content offline. You can download the content in order to access it without the need of an internet connection, or for example, if your connection is not reliable. And of course, again, an internet connection is needed to log in the first time and to download the content. And the third option here, viewing app, this is just a reminder. So if you have already downloaded the app, you don't need to download it again. Simply open it and log in to access the content. So for this webinar, I'm going to use the view in browser option. Let's click on the view button. It will open in a new tab. Here we are. Yes. Okay, so first, before going into detail, these little icons here, for those that are new, these are just to select the position of your main menu. So that's quite useful when you are using the interactive whiteboard in the class to put it on the right you prefer. And before going into detail, just a reminder about these links here, the Teacher Resource Center and the Test Generator. Those are the same content that Dave has shown us in the ME portal in macmillaneducationeverywhere.com, right? So these are just quick access so that you can choose where to access this component, right? And the online lesson, if it let me open, is a thing that we have released this year that will allow you to set up your online classes or a meeting with your student without leaving the app, and schedule a meeting with them for your pupils to join without leaving the platform. Okay, so this is what I commented earlier about the online lesson. So you can choose the tool that you are more comfortable with to set up your online meetings or your online classes. And yeah, as I said, these are the links to the Teacher Resource Center and the text generator. Okay.
And then the next link down is classes, right? That's the one that you use to create a class and add students, yeah?
Yes, I think it's a good idea before opening the Digital Pupils book, have a look to this and show our teachers how to create a class and how to add the students. I'm going to click on classes. It will open in a new tab. You can add this website to your favorites so that you can access very quickly anytime you want. Okay, here you can see that I already have a class created, okay, primary class 1 with six students that I have already created for this webinar. But the first time that you access this classes menu, this screen will be empty. So what you need to do is to click here on add a class. Choose a name for your class, I don't know, primary 2, whatever, and select the course that your pupils will have access to, which in this case for this session is KidsCan Level 3. Click on next. And here you can see the different ways to add the students to the class. You can choose any right now, or we can cancel and do this later. And I'm going to cancel because I want to show you how to open this window again once we have the class created. Okay, so I have canceled that. This is the class that we have just created. Click on it. Access the Manage Class section. And here is our class. Okay, so I'm going to click on Add Students. And here we have again the 4 options to add students. Let's quickly see the 4 options. First one is I will add my students manually. With this option, you can type your student's first name, your last name, and the contact email, as you can see in the screen, and click on the plus icon and add the students. For as many students as you need, right?
Well, that's quite a manual process now. I imagine that it's probably the most useful way that you can use this is if you have a new student or a couple of new students that you want to put into the class. But to do that 30 times for every class is quite labor intensive. No, is there any way that we can automate it?
Yes, you might prefer then to use the second option, which is use a CSV file to add my students. And with this option, you can add the students to your class in bulk, uploading a CSV file with this data required. Right?
Okay, and what's a CSV file and how do I get it?
Okay, well, you can create a CSV file, just creating an Excel document with the 3 columns that you need, a column with the pupil's first name, second column with the pupil's last name, and the third column with the contact email. And instead of saving it as an Excel file, you will need to save it as CSV. And once you have that CSV format, that CSV file, you can upload it into the platform to charge our students automatically.
So it's basically an Excel, but you save it as a CSV file, which gives you that option.
Exactly. I mean, you might already have this document, this Excel with all the list of students for other purposes. So you just need to reuse it and save it as CSV. That's it.
Great. So which contact email should I use? Should I use mine for all of my pupils, or should I invent a fictitious account? What should I do? Yeah,
that's a very common question every year. And well, yeah, you could use a fictitious account if you want, but if your pupils need to reset their password at some point, the email with the steps to do it will go into this email. So if it is a fictitious one, no one will never receive it. And if you use your teacher email, then you will be getting the password reset link. So, I mean, if you are in the classroom with them, that's not the end of the world. But if they need to reset the password during the weekend, they will never get that recovery email. So my recommendation is to use real email accounts if possible. Let's see the next option, which is, I think, the simple one, get students to add themselves. This is as simple as to set a class code with your students. Here you have one, so that they can join the class. When they access the platform as students, they will see an option called join a class, and they just need to copy and paste or type in the code in the box. That's it, and they will be added to your class.
Well, that's easy, isn't it? I think that's probably the one that I would prefer. Now they all get the same code. No? So
yeah, exactly.
So let them do the work.
Yeah, I think the most straightforward.
Yeah.
I agree. There is a last one, which is copy students over from an existing class, which might be useful for those that are already users from last year. Because if you already have classes created and the students are moving to the next course, you can simply copy those students into a new class. So you don't need to create them again, right?
Well, that's useful then for classes that haven't changed from one year to the next, and also if there was a situation from last year in the confinement, where sometimes teachers had to make new groups, and so it would be a way of transferring them back to another group in bulk, no?
Exactly, yeah. In that case, you can copy and paste those students to the class they belong to and remove them from the other class to avoid having them duplicating. That's it.
Okay, great. So now we know how to set up a class. We've got our class. What do we do now? How do we manage it?
Okay, I'm going back to the classes menu to choose the one that I have students in, primary class 1. Okay, and when we access the manage section, you will be able to see and edit your student data. You can add new students to the class, as we have just seen. You can remove them, or you can, for example, reset their password.
Okay, and how do we do that? Because basically with younger pupils, it's quite likely that they're going to forget their password or their access details, and that's going to delay the lesson quite a lot. So if teachers can reset their passwords, then that would save quite a lot of time. Yes.
Yes. Well, you have two options here. One is this. This is obvious, no? New password button. This will generate a new password for the student. The system will generate a new automatic password for the student, right? That you then can share with this student. But you might want or might prefer to choose the password for your student because, for example, you are using all the password for all the students exactly the same. So in that case, if you need to reset the password and choose one, you can click on the name of the student here, Neva, for example, and here all the files that you have this pencil icon, you can edit. So you could edit the password and choose a new one for this student. Okay. Right, so as we have seen, you as teachers have different ways to create your class and add your students, so you can choose the one that works better for you.
And
now,
Susanna, before we go on, we're getting a few questions in the chat, so
right.
I'll just read out some of the later ones. Unfortunately, we can't answer all of the questions during the session. You'll have a chance to ask anything that's still not clear at the end. But I just thought while we're here, somebody says, will students keep their usernames and passwords?
If they were using this last year, yes, they can still use the same username and password as the same as teachers. And if you are already a user, you don't need to create another account. So they keep the usernames and passwords.
Okay.
Right.
And another question is there a form to be given to the students together with the code so that they have a guide to join the class?
There is a user manual in Spanish for them to share with families with instructions to access the platform and the different options. So maybe later on, when we are going to remind our teachers where to access all this material, yeah, we can highlight this so that they know.
Okay. The other question, there's some questions about NAVIO, which we're going to deal with NAVIO later on now. And there are also one or two people who ask questions about specific course books like New Tiger.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that later, shall we? I
yes,
just thought those were kind of relevant to.
Yes.
To this
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And if we don't have time to answer all the questions that they ask now or later, I mean, I think there's a questionnaire when we finish the webinar, and they can raise their questions there, and I will be very happy to answer them later. Okay.
Yes. On the questionnaire, there's a section where you can ask questions.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go back to the main menu here. Okay. So because I think it's now a good time to access the content and maybe do a quick walkthrough of a unit to see the platform functionalities, right? Okay, so I'm going to click on KidsCan level 3. Of course, if you are teaching more than one level, you will see all your levels here. Or if you are teaching Neo Tiger or Neo High 5, you will see your course here. Okay, in this case, it's KidsCan level 3. Here you have the components available with your license. I'm going to click on the Digital Pupils book for this session and Unit 1. and the vocabulary unit or vocabulary lesson. So now what you are going to see is the page of the book, okay, as soon as it loads. So now at first sight, Dave, what do you think we can do with this?
Well, the first thing that strikes me is that it should be very easy to navigate, right? Because at the top, you've got the navigational arrows. Yeah, can we point those out? Yeah, they're on the top bar on the left. And so that means we can move easily now between pages. And also we can select a particular page. Yeah, you've got a page selector there. And one of the great things is that it's totally page faithful. No, so it mirrors exactly the printed pupils book, and the activity mirrors the printed activity book as well. And so it's very easy to know which page that you want to be on. Okay, so you can just simply type the page, save loads of time, and just go there directly. So that's great. Okay, and I can see that we've also got some little blue icons by the activities as well. No, they're like a little pointing finger with sort of like a star thing coming out of it. So I imagine those are for opening the interactive activities, right?
That's correct. If I click on one of them, it will open an interactive activity. There you go.
Okay, that's great. Okay, and can we make it even bigger?
Yes, we can click here on this icon and the activity will go full screen, right? Better?
Excellent, great, okay. And also, I can see at the bottom that you have two options of showing the answers when you want to go through the activity all together. You can show them individually, one by one, and you can show them all at the right time, yeah?
Exactly, that's it. Yes, so most of the activities are...
Is that the same for all the activities?
Yes, most of the activities are interactive and self-corrective, so you will be able to show the answers to your pupils, or as we've done right now, or you can maybe do the activities together in the classroom. And there are also other activities that are non-gradable, like open answer activities that you will need to create and mark manually, but most of them are self-corrective, like this one.
Okay. Right, can we go back and have a look at an activity that's got like an audio or a video in it?
We are in the right one, because I have the right example here, yes?
Great.
Okay, you are going to ask about the audio player, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the activity has an audio or a video, it will be integrated within the activity so that you can have it on hand while doing the activity, right? So it's like this one, this example, we could have the activity open and play the audio to make the activities all together.
Okay. And does the book have a zoom tool?
Yes, there is a zoom tool that we have implemented this year, but the zoom tool is not available when you have an activity opened. But you still can zoom it using the control and the plus buttons in the keyboard, like in any other website. Let me show you for you. You see how it is increasing?
Yeah.
Right, okay, so we can go back to the original size and let me show you the zoom tool, because there is a zoom tool in the book. If I go back to the page of the book, you can see that the zoom tool is here on the top menu. And if we click on the plus icon, we can increase the size and the content up to 300%, if I'm not wrong. So it's very useful for readings, like for example, this one, because you can have the text on the screen and you can still open, for example, this audio here and move it so that you can have the audio and the text all together for your students.
Yes. And someone's asking if we can do that full screen. No, I mean, we can't see full screen at the moment because it's a Zoom
Yeah,
session.
exactly.
Yeah, but you will be able to normally. It's just that we can't necessarily show you that. But the good thing is that you can. Well, so just to recap, sorry, on that. Then when we're showing an individual activity, it's Control Plus, no, to
exactly Control Plus to enlarge, as you do in any other website.
Okay? And then you can just exactly, yeah, sure. Sorry. And so, yeah, just like you would on any Control plus, Control minus, and then here you've got the actual Zoom tool here.
Exactly.
And the great thing about that means that if we want to do like a listening activity, like we have there, exercise 2, read and listen, then we can actually expand the text. Say, for example, if you want to listen out for certain words and then you want the pupils to come out and underline those particular words so that you can actually draw their attention to the language. So that's very useful. Yes. Okay.
What else do you want to know?
What about the tools for interactive whiteboard as well? No, can you show us those there on the left?
Yeah, of course. These are the tools that we have here. So we've got the pen tool that allows us to make any draws within this green frame. If we click on the little triangle here, we can see the options. So we can choose the thickness of the pen and the color, and it will allow us to do any draw. Okay, if we want to remove it, we click on the bin icon, and this X icon is to close the tool. The next one is the text tool. I can add any text I want here, for example. And again, you can customize this by clicking on this little triangle and choose the text color, the background, and the size of the text. The next one is the highlighter. To select or to highlight any text you want. And the last one, which I think is my preferred tool here, is the notes tool, because it is a mix of a notes and a highlighter. So to use it, you have to click on the icon and select a text. For example, here we select this text, and when we release the mouse, you can see the icon of the note, and by clicking on it, we can add any comments or a note for us, or even a link. For example, if we want, we can add a link and choose the color to highlight the text and save it. So now anytime you move your mouse over the text, you will be able to see the note. If it is a link, you will be able to click on it. You can edit or remove it anytime. And if you want to access all the notes that you've been adding in your book, you can access all of them via this menu in the top menu. So I think that's
really useful, because
useful.
Also, like you've got in Kids Can, you've got the curiosity corners, and sometimes they set a challenge to find out something more about, I don't know, a particular animal. And so if you can actually embed a link into the page and go to a website that you've already checked out beforehand and show them this kind of thing, so they can kind of discover more about the world, right?
Yeah, that would be a very good useful of this tool. Yes.
Excellent. And but the whiteboard tools they're only for the teacher, right? The pupil doesn't have access to those.
Well, these are specific tools for teaching, so students only have access to the notes tool, which, as we have seen, it can also be used as a highlighter. So I think it might be quite useful for pupils in the third cycle of primary to highlight some text and add notes or reminders at the same time. And there is something, I don't know if there are any questions, or, well, I can see there's some feedback and we are taking note of it. Okay, so we will reply to some questions later on. But okay, so many of you would like to use the digital pupils book just for project in the interactive whiteboard and just to correct with your students. But for those that want to go a little bit further, we've got some functionalities here that I would like to show you, which are these in the top. The first one is the lesson extras. Okay. As a teacher, you not only have access to the activities that we have seen that are included in the digital pupils book or the activity book, but also to some extra activities coming from the teacher's guide, such as the opening and closing routines or extra vocabulary or the flashcards, as we can see here. So you have a complete learning pathway available for you. And if we open the flashcards, we can see, for example, this is a great way to review the vocabulary with your students, as there are many ways and combinations to show the vocabulary of the unit and practice with your pupils. The next one is the quick links menu. Here, this allows you to switch between the pupils book and the activity book and quickly access other sections of each unit. So for example, if we want to go to the activity book, we will simply click here and it will take us to the activity book without the need of going back to the main menu and change the component, right? It's very straightforward.
That's great. And so that makes preparation a lot easier, no? Because it links to exactly the same lesson that you're teaching. Now, if you're teaching from the lesson 4 in the skills book, then it'll take you to lesson 4 in the activity book, and you don't need to spend time beforehand, you know, noting which page that
exactly.
to link to. It's all done for you, yeah?
Exactly, we've done that for you, yes. And to go back, we just click again on the quick links menu and we click on this button to return to the pupils book, and it will take us to the same page we were, right? Okay. The next one will be the reward system, which is this icon here. This feature is linked with the NAVIO Pupils app. So as half of you are maybe already familiar with it, and you know that when pupils do activities in the Pupils app, they get points and they can use these points to customize their avatar, as Dave has explained at the beginning. And besides getting points in the Pupils app, you as teachers can also reward your pupils in the class for example, good behavior.
Great. Can we see how that works?
Yes, going to click on it. And the first thing you need, of course, is to have your classes created and the pupils added to their class, because otherwise the feature is not going to work. Okay, so I'm going to select a class with the students on it. Click on next. The next step is to select that students that are not in the class today, are not going to participate. In this case, I'm going to let everyone in. And here we have an option. If you are working cooperatively or collaboratively with your students, you can create teams. So you can create up to 6 teams, which is an improvement that we've made after listening to the feedback that teachers sent us. So we have increased the teams that you can create from 4 to 6. So we can create, I'm going to create, for example, 3 teams now, apply. And the system has created the teams automatically for me, but I can switch students and move. And once I'm happy, I click on next. And I have my teams ready to be rewarded. So I can select all the students and reward all the students at once, or I can select a team and add or remove points from the complete team. Or for example, I could choose or pick one student and give them points. Okay, and I click save and close, and all these points are going to the Pupils app for their students to redeem or to buy more things to their avatar in the Pupils app. Okay,
that's great, that, because you know, I think a lot of teachers have sort of reward boards now where you reward good behavior, but these points actually go somewhere. They can actually use these points to actually improve their avatar. And also the fact that you can, it gives you the option, you can use groups that are generated automatically, or you can move students, which is great, because you might want to have certain students working with each other or avoid other students working with each other. So you've got the balance that you want. And can you save that to the next class, or do you have to regenerate them?
No, the teams that we have created will be saved in the cassette memory for 1 hour. So you can open this reward section anytime, for example, now during a lesson, and the teams will remain exactly the same. Okay, so you don't need to create the teams every time you want to use this feature. Okay.
Right. Okay, how about we have a look at NAVIO? I mean, I know it's not a teacher-facing product, but it would be quite useful to have a look at and just briefly summarize for people that don't know it. No?
Okay, vale, very quickly, because if not, we're not having time for questions. So let me, okay, I'm stopping sharing my screen, and I'm going to share my screen now with NAVIO. Okay, just as a reminder, those of you that are using digital licenses and not using textbooks, your students will access the digital pupils book and the digital activity book via macmillaneducationeverywhere.com, and they will have access to the Macmillan Education Student App from there, as it's the same user journey that we've done with the teacher app, but for the student. And then with the license, they also have access to the NAVIO app, which they can download and install in their devices, okay? So this is for, I mean, extra practice at home maybe. Okay, So this is for most of you are familiar with it, but for those of you that are new, this is like how NAVIO looks like. And as Dave said at the beginning, it is like an innovative and immersive 3D world that we know it engages and motivates the students, no? Because it offers language learning activities, but in a gamified environment. So they think they are playing, but we know that they are learning, right?
Yep, so they're moving through this virtual world and they're learning and practicing their English on the way without actually realizing that, that's what they're doing.
Exactly. These different islands that we can see here are the different units of the book. So if I click on it, I can access unit 1. And when pupils access the virtual world, they can navigate through it using the avatar that you mentioned at the beginning, like if they are in a video game, right? Yeah, here I have the classroom points that I have just received when we were testing the reward system. So here I have the 5 points that the teacher has given me for my good behavior in this webinar today. Right, okay, so we can navigate moving our avatar through the 3D world, or we can use this map to go to the different activities here. And as you can see, the activities are locked, right? So they need to resolve the activities by jumping in these green octagons. And when they resolve the activity, they will be unblocking the next one, okay? Something that I think is worth to mention is that if they don't know the answer and they get blocked, the activity will be automatically unblocked after 3 attempts, okay? Because otherwise, instead of motivating, it could be very, very frustrating for pupils. Okay, so in these activities, we have different practice activities, and there is also a challenge mode. And in this type of activity, in the challenge activities, pupils will need to complete the activity without losing lives and try to get as many correct answers as possible before the countdown, the timer is over. Okay, so the better and the faster pupils finish this type of activities, the more points they will get. So children come back to the world, this 3D world, to gain or win more points and badges that they can use then to customize their avatar.
So they're basically repeating the same things over and over again without actually realizing they're doing it. So they're getting better understanding, more fluency, and you know, while they think they're playing. There's been a couple of questions come in about using NAVIO with Chromebooks. People saying that is that possible?
You can use it, but I mean, Chromebooks are used, I mean, to work online. NAVIO is an app and it can work and you can try and download it, but we cannot ensure a fully behavior, right? Because Chromebooks are not, I mean, they are thought to work online. Yeah.
Okay, we were talking before about points and rewards and badges. So can you show us how this system works?
Yes, sure. So I'm accessing my profile here, clicking on the name. I'll be back to the avatar later, but I'm going to access this reward screen. So as we can see, my avatar has finished the starter unit, has completed all the activities, and he can move to the next one, to the next activity, or to the next unit. But as you can see here in the starter unit, even that I have completed all my activities and all of them are 100% correct, there are still some gold and silver medals that I could win. So I could go back to this starter unit anytime I want to repeat some of the activities in order to unblock the medals and add more points to my account. So even if they got all the activities 100% correct, they can do the activities again, because as we have seen, solving them quicker will give them more points and medals. So again, we know they are learning, but they think they are playing and getting points.
Well, I think that's what's really motivating for them. And I can imagine pupils or kids going home and asking their parents if they can play with NAVIO, right?
Yes, that's the feedback that we had during the lockdown. For example, parents saying that NAVIO was a lifesaver during that period that we were combining working from home and online classes. So yeah, it's a completely safe environment and they are enjoying too and getting points and everything. So it's a very motivating product, I think. Yeah.
And these points are about customizing your avatar, right? Okay, can you just briefly explain what that means and what they can do?
Have a look at it. I have moved from the rewards to the profile and I can now edit my avatar. So with the points I have, I can choose between the items I have available here. And if I have no points enough to buy something I like, then I will need to go back to NAVIO and get more points to get the stuff I want.
Well, I want one of those.
Mm-hmm.
They're great.
Yep. So this is mainly NAVIO, and I think, well, we've seen how the students using NAVIO can see their rewards, and maybe it's a good time to move into the progress tracker, Dave, so that you can explain teachers how they can monitor the progress of their students.
Yes. Okay. Well, I hope that's encouraged you to use NAVIO if you haven't used it before. I hope you think it's good. Let's go and have a look at, now we've created our classes. We looked at how to do that. And now we want to see how we can monitor the progress, and we can do this in a variety of ways. We'll just get the page up there for you.
Yeah, let me show my screen so that we can see what you are going to explain.
That's good, because I can't remember otherwise. That's better. I can remember it when I see it. Yeah. Right.
So I'm going to.
Someone's just asking, could they repeat the work on one island over and over again? We're talking about NAVIO. Yeah. Huh?
Yep. They can repeat any activity in any island over and over again anytime they want. Yes.
Brilliant. Okay, so we're going back to this menu here, right on the left-hand side, and then we're going to progress. Yeah.
Yes. It will open again in a new tab that you can save as a favorite in your browser. I'm going to access the class that we previously created and access the progress tracker.
Okay, so let's have a look at how the progress tracker works. Well, the first thing here is we've got course progress, choose a filter. Okay, and there's all kinds of filters which are always shown by that kind of sort of funnel icon there. So we can have a look at, these are all of the digital resources that pupils have access to. We've got the digital activity book, the ebook version of the extra fun component, the NAVIO app, and of course the pupils book. But I think today, one of the interactive activity or resource they're going to be using most is the activity book, right? Because that's where they're going to be doing their homework and stuff. So let's have a look at the, let's take the digital activity book as an example, because that's going to be the majority of the activities and the things that the teacher's going to be marking.
Exactly.
And we can go from the macro to the micro and look at each individual activity if we want to. So there's something to look forward to when the page actually actually shows. Right, okay. So we've got the digital activity book highlighted there. That's the resource that we're looking at. Okay, we're just looking at one student here. We've only got one uploaded to this demo for this session, but under the name column, that's where all of the students in the class would show up. Okay, so you've got the name column on the left. Then we've got units completed. Okay. Now we've got a few different symbols there. The basic symbol is a zero, like a little circle, okay? And if the circle is empty, then it means you haven't started. By the way, each circle represents a unit, okay? You may find that there are more circles than units in the book because of the review sections as well, okay?
Yeah.
And we've
For
also
example,
got
here you have the festivals in the activity book. This is a quick way to show this. You have the festivals in the activity book, so that's why there are more circles than the 6 units.
Well, and also, and that's great, because there, what Susanna's just showing you is you can see you can jump from unit to unit if you want to look at a specific unit. Okay, so we've got there the units that are completed. If a unit is complete, as in the student has done every single activity, then it shows up as a green circle with a little white tick. That means the whole thing is completed. Okay. If it's in progress, so they've done some activities, but they've still got some activities left to do, then you have that little symbol. It's like a clock with 3 o'clock. Okay, and the blank white ones are the ones that units that we haven't started yet. So we finished the first unit, where the second one's in progress, and we've got the rest to do. Then we've got the time and the attempts, and these are quite useful to show us really how, not just the mark they've got, but how long it's taken them to do it, how many attempts they've needed to do it, because that kind of shows us whether they might be struggling to do it, whether they can do it easily or not. So that's all data that's showing us how well they're coping with the activities. Okay, we've got their highest score in their various attempts. We've also got at the top, in this case, it's exactly the same because there's only one student, but we've got the class average score. So you can compare the individual student with the class average to see who's on the average and who might need a little bit more help. Okay, so this view allows us to see the class as a whole. But we can filter and go into the individual pupil, which Susanna's done there. Okay, so now this is just Lucas. Okay, and we can see now we can take this particular unit, and now it breaks down into the individual lessons within the unit and individual activities within the lesson.
Let me filter, Dave.
Yeah.
Let me filter to unit 1 so that we can focus on just one unit, right?
Right.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so unit 1 is pretty much done now. We've completed all of the vocabulary activities. One of the story activities we haven't done. So now each of the circles represents an activity. Okay, because we've gone down into individual activities within individual lessons. Okay, and so now again we can see their best score for that particular activity. We can see the time taken, but let's go in and actually have a look at the specific activity. Yeah, so we can see how they've done in the activity, where they're failing. Okay, and so here we go. These are all the activities in a particular lesson. So we've got the name of the activity on the left. And then in the second column, we've got review. And can you see a little eye icon? That means we can look at the individual activity. So let's have a look at that one, activity 2A. And we'll be able to see the answers they've got right and the answers they've got wrong. Okay. We've also got the option at the bottom to show the answers if we want to go through the activity with the students, okay? Or if we just want to remind ourselves, of what the right answer is, because we're, sometimes it might be an anagram and you don't want to sit there trying to work it out yourself, So it's a shortcut to that. So we can see what they've got right and what they need more help with.
Yeah, this is something that we have improved from last year, because last year the review icon only allows you to see the activity. Whereas this year you will be able to see the mistakes that the pupils has done. So it's a very powerful tool for you to know when you need to help any student. So you not only have the score for the first and last attempt here in the graphic, but you can also see how the student has or where they have failed, right?
And then we can see where the badges have been distributed now in that column. Exactly. If you've given them any rewards, then that will appear there.
Exactly. These are the badges that we show that we can get in NAVIO.
Great. Okay. So just a couple more things. One thing is the kind of activity we just looked at there is self-correcting. Yeah, the system corrects the activity, but that's because it's an activity that has a right or wrong answer. Some activities will require you to actually mark them. Yeah, it might be a short answer that there are no algorithms to cover every eventuality of a correct answer. So in that case, the system lets you know if you have some marking to do. So next to course progress, we've got notifications. So if we click on notifications, okay, here we're fine. We've got a thumb up, which is telling us that we're up to date. But if we're not, it will tell us which activities we need to look at to correct ourselves. Yeah. And the final thing is on the right-hand side, you can see an export option. And that's great because it means that you can print out in an Excel or a CSV file. You can choose whichever option you would prefer it to be in, whichever format. And you can export it, as in you can download it and then print it out. So when you're doing your evaluations, you've got all the data there printed out, or as much as you want.
or also if they are using other marking tools, for example, such as VÍDEO or IDOSEO or any other elements that allows you to upload the scores in CSV into the platform, that will be very useful as well for those using these kind of third-party platforms.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it for the progress tracker, no?
Yeah, that's it.
Missed, yeah?
We are running out of time, I think, because we had those little problems at the beginning. So if everyone is happy with that, I mean, I think we can extend a little bit, 5-10 minutes to continue with the last point and give them time to make any questions. So yeah, I think we were mentioning third-party platforms, and I would really like to know how many of you are using platforms like, for example, Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, or platforms like Alexia or ClickEdu. So if you don't mind to vote here in this window so that we can see if any of you, or how many. I think Google Classroom is winning.
Google Classroom seems to be the most popular.
Microsoft Teams as well, some Moodle platforms is also 20% of users that are not using any third-party platforms at all. Yeah, but 50% of our users more or less are familiar or using Google Classroom. Okay, so I think something very interesting for them will be how to work with our materials and Google Classroom. Okay, yeah. So okay, we can see the results here. Yes, 50%, 51% of users using Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams. Then we've got 21% of users not using any third-party platforms, and a few of them using Moodle or any other Moodle-based platforms. Okay, right. We know this was always important for you teachers, always, but even more since the pandemic, because during this time, these tools and platforms have become very, very popular. So I think, yeah, for those of you using platforms like Moodle or Moodle-based platforms, our content in Macmillan Education Teacher App is compatible with these platforms using Marsupial license. So you just need to request, and we will set them licenses along with the connection details. And for those of you using Google Classroom, I think, yeah, we are working on making our digital content compatible with these tools. And most of you, if you are using Google Classroom, most of you, what everybody I think expects when they talk about integration with Google is that little Google Classroom icon that is available in some platforms that allows you to share the content from the platform directly to your Google Classroom. That is not available on our platform yet, but that doesn't mean that you can use our Macmillan content with Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, because I'm not going to open Google Classroom now because we don't have that much time. But if you open your Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, you can share material or a task with your students. And that task might be to make the activities in the KidsCan platform or the New High Five or New Tiger platform. So we just need to create the task or the material, and to help students to know where to access the activities, we can share the link to the platform with them, which, for example, will be student.macmillaneducationeverywhere.com. Right, so you can share. I know it's easier to just have a button and click on it and share it directly, but you can still use it. And if you prefer to use Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, you can share our content in the platform, right? To track the student results, I really like to use the progress tracker that Dave has shown us, but I know some teachers prefer to ask their pupils to take photos or screenshots of the activities and upload them into the Google Classroom for the teacher to correct. That is completely up to you. And if you want to go further, maybe, and improve, for example, the digital literacy of the students, which is something very important these days, and it's very present in the new LOE, there are some activities in our books that are very likely to be extended using the Google tools or the Microsoft tools, for example. And you mentioned before the Curious Kids section, Dave. I think that is a very good example for this, because pupils could go to the internet to find more about the topic and add their answers directly to a task in Google Classroom, or the teacher might want to ask their students to work in pairs or groups and prepare a presentation about the topic using Google Slides, for example, to make them work with these digital tools and our content, no? and the book you are using. And this will also be applied to Microsoft Teams or any other LMS that you use with your students.
Okay, so we're coming up to the time where we're going to ask you to give us your questions. There's a question come up here saying, is there a user guide I could share with families?
Yes, there is a user guide that we have available. I think you're going to mention Advantage before we leave. So in this portal, they have access to the user guide for them in English and also a quick user guide to share with families, which is in Spanish, right? Yeah, they're asking if they can if teachers can block units in NAVIO. And no, the activities are blocked for the students, but the units are open. It's like when you work with a textbook that you cannot really prevent students to open unit 7 from day 1 and read the story on unit 7. So no, no, you cannot block the units in NAVIO, but the activities are blocked, right? That will allow you, if you, prefer, instead of starting, for example, with unit 1, if you want to use unit 7, if the students can go directly as well to the unit 7 without the need to block or unblock units, right?
Okay, yes, you can play NAVIO in class, you can use it. The activities that pupils can find on NAVIO, do you want to, let's compare them with the ones in the student's book? Are they similar kinds of activities?
Yeah, that is a content thing, but I think they are extra activities. They are different from the ones that are in the pupil's book or in the activity book. Roser is saying that some activities in NAVIO are the same from the class book. Yeah, maybe there are some of them that are repeating so that they can also practice them at home. I have to log out every time I want to change the level of the book. Is that normal? No, you should be able to click on the home icon in the main menu and choose the component or the level that you want. You don't need to log out. So if you are having that issue, just raise or send an email to our customer care department. I will share the email in a moment.
Is there any way we can open different courses simultaneously on the teacher app, or can we only have one open at a time?
Well, you can, if you are using the online version, you can open different browsers or different tabs, and the different browsers, I would say, will work. You can have Google Chrome with, for example, KidsCan level 1, and in the other browser, you can open your session with other courses or other levels, and you will have it at the same time, yes.
Do students get to NAVIO using the code in their activity books?
Yeah, get to NAVIO using the code in their activity books. I think so, but I can't remember all the licenses and the different packs, but I think so. I think so, yes.
Okay, we'll just do a couple more, then we'll have to move on. Is it possible to record activities from the activity book if our students haven't got the online version? Do they have the physical and online version for each book?
It depends on the course you are using, because for KidsCan, they have access to the digital license.
And there's someone else asking about, presumably they're talking about Tiger, and presumably they're talking about the non-enhanced version and the enhanced version. I liked more the previous Tiger platform. Is it possible to use both the old one and the enhanced one?
Yeah, I think people that were happy using NAVIO were continuing using it, but we are promoting the Tiger Enhanced because the feedback we had is that teachers prefer to have the page faithful view in front for pupils to avoid pupils getting lost. Yeah, but so talk to your representative.
Okay, so I think something happened to the sound when you were explaining about Dex. Dex does have a digital book, yeah?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, any more questions then please put them on your, we're going to give you the form at the end, the questionnaire, and you'll have a chance to ask a question or two on that one. Okay, so now can we go to back to the presentation so that we can see all of the delights that are offered to us through Macmillan Advantage. Anyway, just what Macmillan is. If you're not familiar with Macmillan Advantage, it's our resource platform for Macmillan users. okay, in order to try and help make your teaching life as easy as we possibly can. Okay, so what have we got in there? Well, the idea is that all in one, all the resources that you'll need for every course book title, all in one place. Okay, and it's available from anywhere at any time. Okay, so imagine you need an audio or a video at the last minute, or you've got a test that you need tomorrow. You've got everything there ready to download and in editable format. Okay, so we've got resources for all our course books. It's kind of like our own resource Spotify. More than 1,000 resources categorized by skills, by age groups, projects, festivities. We've got video tutorials about all of the digital products, and also access to our help desk. Teacher training or teacher development videos, more than 200 of them, categorized by topic or age groups. And we're constantly updating. We create new content every month to hopefully adapt to your needs. We've got the programaciones, which are updated according to like legislative changes, like the LOMLOE, and situations that happen, like, for example, the pandemic last year. We provided a lot of resources for teachers to use at home during that time, and everything that we put up there is basically according to the feedback that we receive from teachers. So please have a look, and if you've got any ideas or suggestions or things that you would like to see there that aren't, then please just get in touch and let us know. And before we leave Advantage, let's wish it a happy birthday. There we are. We've got a big cake there and a 5 with a candle. It's just turned 5 years old. So happy birthday, Macmillan Advantage. And as we say in Catalonia here, per molts anys, no? Per muchos años más. Okay. Many happy returns, I think, is the English equivalent. And to celebrate that, we've generated a lot of new special content that is going to be appearing throughout the year. So please keep an eye on your inbox, and also our monthly newsletters that we send out to announce these things.
Okay, that's great, very useful resources. Before leaving, I would also like to remind you that we have a customer care department with a YouTube channel that you can access. I mean, if you type Macmillan Iberia in YouTube, you will get access to that channel to see a lot of more videos with video tutorials, because I know in 1 hour to explain all that we try to cover, we're sometimes doing very quickly. So if you want to review again this webinar, or you can access this YouTube session and this YouTube channel to access more videos and tips on how to make the most of our digital platforms. And there is also a team of technicians, if you need any support with our digital platforms, that you can reach at atenciocliente@macmillaneducation.com, and they will be happy to help. I think that's all, Dave.
That's all, and hopefully this webinar will have convinced you to use the digital app and the digital products with confidence. And good luck using them. Let us know how it goes. And many thanks to all of you for coming.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.